Welcome to Rewiring Health. This podcast is for those of you who have an eating disorder, chronic pain, or both. In this channel, we'll dive deep into inspirational stories of those who have healed from both, and also get into the mind-body connection and how we can heal the mind through the body, and also heal the body through the mind. Come and join me on this journey. I'm starting this podcast off with a quote that I wish I had seen many years ago, because I think it would have helped to at least shift my perspective in how I viewed myself. And it is, perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the worst in ourselves, the part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough, that we should try again. And this really resonated with me because this is how I felt for years, and always felt like I was striving to be better and better. And I never allowed my cup to feel like it was filled. I never felt fulfilled. And I remember time I was training for my first half marathon, and my goal for it was to do under 2 hours. And so I had been training, I was doing like 14-mile runs in preparation for it. And I finally get to the day of the race, and it's on Cornell University campus. And the sun was shining. It's a beautiful campus. The energy of all the racers ready to go. And I was running, the race started running. And the way the race was is that it starts out on the campus and then goes in the surrounding areas, and then you come back to the campus to finish. And I was right on time for like making my goal. I knew I was close, and I wasn't exactly sure how far I had to go, because at that time I didn't have a smartwatch. I didn't have a GPS or anything. I just had the actual time of how long I had been running. So I wasn't exactly sure how much further I had to go, but I was nearing my 2-hour mark. And I turn the corner and I get to where the finish line is. So it was a little far ahead of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can do this. I was feeling nervous, and I'm like, if I just keep this pace, just keep going, I can make my goal. So I just went hard and crossed the finish line at 1:59:37. That was my time. And I remember initially being like, wow, holy, I did it. That was awesome. Like I was like impressed with myself. And then the next minute I'm like, could have done better. I definitely could have done better. I definitely could have run faster. I could have really beaten that time. Like I barely made it. I was just under 2 hours. Like that wasn't good enough. And that was my attitude right after had run that race. So I celebrated for about 0.5 seconds, and the rest of it was berating myself because I had not beaten that time significantly. I had only beat it by 23 seconds. And this is how I lived my life for years. No matter how hard I worked, I always felt like I had to do better than what I was doing. And I think, from my experience, many people who struggle with perfectionism feel this. Oftentimes it's like, no matter how much you do or how much success you have in your life, it's never good enough. You're always striving for more. And that has been such what I thought was a catalyst for change, and what I thought was helping me move forward. It actually has been such a hindrance. And now that I can see things clearer, I realized how much that was holding me back from enjoying life and actually reaching my potential. And that's why I started out with this quote, because I thought that if I held myself to this unobtainable standard, that I would always be in the pursuit of greatness, that I would constantly push myself further and further to get to this amazing place that I thought existed where everything was great. But all I did was just focus on the negativity and what wasn't good enough. And that constantly held me back from what I could have enjoyed at that moment. And so what I want to talk about today is just 3 things you can do to change your perspective. And these are 3 things I have implemented throughout the years to help myself overcome some of this perfectionist point of view that has held me back and has also contributed to my pain and what I had experienced for many years, in which I had chronic back pain. And I realized that the perfectionist mindset was compounding what I was experiencing physically. So the one thing that has made all the difference for me was to focus on consistency rather than perfection. And it may sound really hard, especially if you're a perfectionist, because it's tough. It's a really tough transition, but you have to start very small. And for me, just to give an example, is that, when I was in the thick of my eating disorder, I did not miss a day for 2.5 years of doing 500 crunches every single day. So that was a non-negotiable for me. There was a time when I had awful food poisoning. I felt so sick to my stomach, and most people would just take it easy and relax and be like, it's okay to not do the crunches today. That's okay. Just rest. But no, that was not me. I had to do these crunches regardless of how I felt. That was a non-negotiable, what I thought at the time. So in between throwing up, I would go do crunches, and I would just lay on the floor and then go back to the bathroom. It was a horrible, horrible time, but that's how much I focused on everything has to be perfect. I cannot miss a day. If I miss a day, the whole thing is shot. This whole 2.5 years that I've been working so hard would be gone. And that's how I thought. But when we can shift our perspective from consistency rather than perfection, it's a game changer. And so for me, anything that I work towards, if I miss a day, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It'll be okay. I just can't make the whole thing become consistently off. So if I miss a day doing something, that's fine. I just have to get back on the next day and give myself some grace. And so no matter what you're working toward, if you do miss a day, or if you flub up or something comes up and life happens, it's not the end of the world. It's just a time to realize that you're human. That's just part of the experience, and get back on it the next day. That's okay. And again, that is okay. At the time, I didn't even think that would be okay, because I would come down on myself so hard. But we have to remind ourselves that is okay. It's not the end of the world. You will get back on it. Another thing we have to do, and this is something that I had to learn, is that I defined myself so narrowly at that time. I was an athlete. I had high standards, and that is what I do. So for me, working out and exercising excessively was who I was, and that was it. And so that was my own definition of myself. I didn't recognize any other aspect of myself other than you work hard, you're determined, you exercise hard, you go hard, and that is it. So if we can start broadening how we perceive ourselves and recognizing other attributes that we have that are uniquely beautiful to us, then we allow ourselves to, again, have some grace, and recognizing that we're more than just an athlete. We're more than just someone who exercises. We're more than someone who has perfect grades. We're more than somebody who holds themselves to the standard that's completely unobtainable. We're more than that, and we're meant to be more than that. So once we can broaden who we are, and really give ourselves a wider range of what we're capable of and what we have to give to the world, it changes your whole perspective. So back then, like I said, I was an athlete, I work hard, and I exercise excessively. That is who I was. Now, if someone were to ask me who I am, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, I'm an athlete still. I love to go for walks. I'm an outdoorsy person. I love to make soap. There's just so many more aspects of me. I love to read. I love to learn and grow always. I love breath work. I mean, there's so many more things I can define myself with. And that has just allowed me to realize that I'm not just one little thing. So if that one little thing is off, that's not the end all be all. That's not the only part of me. There's so much more to me that I have to focus on. So if you can broaden your perspective of who you are and kind of remove yourself from that narrowed focus, it allows you to shift your perspective again. The last thing we have to try to change, and this was a big thing for me, is that I acted out in fear. So we always have two choices. We can either lead in fear or we can lead in faith. And I'm not just talking about like religious faith, I'm talking about faith that we believe things will move in the direction that we're meant to be, and that we are moving in a direction of abundance, and that the world has us in a place, and there's better aspects for us to move forward rather than being where we are. So faith in that things will work out the way they're meant to, and it will work out for good, rather than having a fearful mentality where we fear what could happen if we don't do X, Y, and Z. So I'll give you an example of this. So back then, I exercised every single day. And, like I was saying, I did the sit-ups for 2.5 years straight, but I also was like running, lifting, biking every single day for months on end, and did not miss a single day. And for me, it was fearful that if I had missed a day, I would just completely fall off the train. Like things would spiral out of control. Like my whole life would be, not what I think it is. Like I would never be able to get back on this pace. So I just kept myself on there, because if I stop, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I just with what I knew, and that was just to continue to go and to go hard. But I was living in fear at that time. I wasn't living in faith that it's okay if I missed a day, things would be okay. It wasn't the end of the world. I have a lot more things to focus my energy on if I did miss a day. But that's a perspective shift. So what you can do right now is think about something you're struggling with, or you want to be different in your life, and think about the choices you're making with that. Are you moving in fear, or are you moving in faith? And that can be a real game changer when we talk about how we perceive things and how we act on things. Again, it all starts with what we think, and then we attach emotion to it, and then it becomes us. So think about something that's consistent in your life. How are you treating that? Is this something that you're doing because you're fearful of a consequence, or is it something that you're doing because you're faithful that it will move you in the direction that you hope it to move you? So I know it's a lot. But again, those three things have been game changer for me to overcome some of those perfectionist mindsets that I've had. And that has also allowed me to heal, because the perfectionist mindset I had was hindering my healing physically and also contributing to my pain physically. So by making these shifts in my perspective of how I treated myself and my world, it's been a game changer. So again, the three things is to focus on consistency, not perfection. Define yourself more broadly. So who are you besides this one thing? And write that down. It can really give you a lot of clarity to have it written and see who you truly are. And then 3, act out of faith, not fear. And just give yourself some awareness of what you're doing when you do make choices. So again, to reiterate this quote, perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is the pursuit of the worst in ourselves. The part that tells us nothing we do will ever be good enough, that we should try again. So if you are someone who is a perfectionist and you're struggling with keeping all the fires out and in life and trying to hold everything together and feeling like nothing you do is good enough and feeling like you're exhausted because you're trying to maintain this standard for every aspect of your life, then implementing a few of these strategies can really be such a game changer for releasing some of these that are not serving you and moving you forward in a direction that is actual true love for yourself, not just shrouded by this conception that if it's perfect, then you're worthy. You're worthy because you are worthy, not because things are perfect. So I hope this allows you to give yourself some grace and to move forward in a direction that you desire, to bring some energy back to your life and to feel like you're full and you're fulfilled. So thank you again for spending your precious time with me. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast, leave any questions or comments you have for me. And also, I would love if you would leave a review. I love to hear your feedback, and it just means the world to me to have you listen. So thank you again. Take care.
Thank you for spending your precious time to listen to this episode of Rewiring Health. My mission is to inspire hope and healing through science-backed practices. If you found value in this, please share with 3 people and leave a review. By doing so, this message can be spread to those who need to hear it most. Also, to get updates on the most recent episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I am forever grateful for you.